But now we come to the numbers you've all been waiting for. Before I go to the next slide, I want to give you a little bit, got to suspend, make the suspense, build the suspense. I want to tell you a couple of things. One is that there were 23 candidates listed on the survey. 23. We then gave people the option to write in people. You all wrote in another 44 people. When I tell you Dwight Eisenhower received the vote, I am not lying. So did Richard Nixon. Whoever wrote them in, they're not coming back and they're not running. But, having said that, the write-ins went from everybody from Alan West to Condoleezza Rice to Judge Andrew Napolitano. But, of those write-ins, none of the write-ins themselves received more than 1%. So while there was a whole bunch of write-ins, and we have, 67 candidates, this is the largest group of candidates I have ever seen in a CPAC Straw poll. But that being said, I can tell you, when I turn the next slide, I can tell you ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN are not going to be happy because their favorite candidate did not come in first, but your favorite candidate... Senator Marco Rubio. And then you have Senator Rick Santorum at 8%. Comedian candidate Christie at 7%. And so on from there. And the 14% other, those were the individuals written in, the 44 individuals written in. That's what they equal to. The homeland and strong national defense. And as you can see, for the several straight year in a row, the vast majority of participants in the straw poll are very much in favor of limited government, less spending, lower taxes. We then ask whether you approve the job the president is doing, and whether or not you approve the job Republicans in Congress are doing. And as you can see, last year, President Obama had a slight bump in his popularity among this group. This year, the numbers have gone back to where they actually belong, although I still want to meet the 2% that said they approve of his job in this way. On the other hand, when you look at the Republicans in Congress, last year the Republicans in Congress were basically a 50-50 split. Now they're a little bit better off this year than they were last year, but the truth of the matter is that still this group, or this audience here, these activists, still are not convinced that the Republicans in Congress are doing the job that they need to do. So for the congressional leaders, they need to pay attention to this. Then we asked some questions about the budget and how we should fix the budget mess. Well, shock and surprise, nearly 3/4 of you think we should accomplish it by spending cuts. But surprisingly, 16% said we should raise taxes and cut spending. Obviously, they didn't hear Ann Coulter's speech about what happened the last 2 times we agreed to tax increases and spending cuts. We then asked the question on what folks thought about how we should handle the spending cuts under the sequester. And overwhelmingly, you all thought that we should do targeted cuts, not across-the-board cuts, as are presently being put in, because you don't want to see defense cut, military cut across the board like everything else. And now we get to a couple of more controversial questions. What do you think the U.S. role should be in the world today? And as you can see, half of you think that we should take a step back and let our allies themselves, whereas a little bit more than 1/3 of us still favor a more muscular foreign policy where the U.S. helps try and provide defense for its allies. Interestingly, though, almost 1 out of 5 are on the fence on this issue. So this issue is certainly going to play itself out over the next several years inside the party and inside the movement. Something that one of the speakers here made himself kind of famous on, and that is the issue of the use of drones, the federal government use of drones. And as you can see, overwhelmingly, you oppose using drones to target non-combatants who are U.S. citizens to either kill them or to survey them